So here I just thought I'd talk about lavender a bit. This is a white lavender. It's not one you see so much, and it's currently sort of end of blooming season. So when it starts doing this, the flowers are done, and it can be cut back just below the first set of leaves. So I would cut it back, follow the stem down to about here, and that's where the stalk is a little bit woodier and thicker, and up here it's still sort of pliable. So you can see a little bit more easily with this one. You'd cut it back down to about here, and that'll encourage new growth, new flowers, and keep it looking a little bit healthier. This one doesn't have any flowers right now, but it has purple flowers and is actually growing pretty rapidly. You can see where new buds are going to come out, even though it's fall. It's pretty happy, and that's because I keep cutting it back. This is another species of lavender. This is actually a hybrid, and you can see on the leaves here, these leaves are almost fuzzy a little bit, so it's quite different. This one's beginning to bloom. It was blooming earlier in the year, and I cut it back, and now it's starting to get a second bloom, whereas the other ones are on their maybe third or fourth bloom. It's been kind of continual and overlapping. And here's a fourth type of lavender. This lavender, these are all buds that have not quite opened yet. As you can see, this one is beginning to open, and this is actually a lavender that's specifically bred for baking or cooking. So I tend to use this in lavender shortbread, and it smells beautiful. These flowers are also really nice for drying and putting in closets, or all lavender flowers really are. But it's super easy. They all like to, they're Mediterranean plants, so they like to dry out between waterings, not for too long, but enough that the soil is not continually moist. They like medium to full sun. These ones are able to tolerate the cold pretty well. We get down to a -5 in the winter here, and they can handle the snow and the cold. If they are out and not protected, and the snow sometimes will weigh down their stems and snap it though, so you have to watch for that. Just shake off the snow as you go. Yeah, so that's lavender. It's one of my favorites. So just continuing with the lavender, this is what I do with the lavender that's made for baking. I pick it, this one I waited a little bit long because the flowers were starting to go brown. Ideally you want it when all of the flowers are still purple before it's dying, but it's end of season and things got busy. But I put it out on the counter and just let it dry. I think you could probably also do this in the oven or if you have a dehydrator, but I'm not in a rush and the air in my place is pretty dry. So I tend to leave it out for a week or two, let it dry out. And then once it's nice and dry and there's no moisture, you can feel the seeds are very, very dry, I just pull them off the stalk and put them in this tiny little mason jar. And then I use them for baking through the year. This is this summer's harvest. I missed the first couple blooms, so there's not that much seeds. If I'd done earlier blooms, there would have been way more, but I wasn't really focused on it. So that was one trimming, and then this is half of one. So yeah, that'll last through. I already used up all of last year's blooms, so it's nice to get some new ones this year. So as you can see, the lavender is all quite happy despite it sort of some leaves yellowing. It's just sort of typical end of season shedding of some leaves. I live in zone 8, and so we do get cold winters, and it's totally fine for this type of plant. And Spanish lavender, white lavender, French, it all does well.